Welcome back. Now let's start the program in earnest, and we'll be focusing on election violence. And like we said when we were doing the menu, God forbid that we should have any violence this year, but it can't be ruled out. It's exactly 3 weeks to the elections, and some Nigerians are worried about election violence with levels of intolerance, and bric-a-brac being thrown all over the place. It is a real and proper fear. To look at this with us this morning, we have in the studio Mr. Willie Okafor of the Justice Development and Peace Center.
Commission.
Good morning.
Thank
Commission.
You.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. We have a legal practitioner, Mr. Charles Aholu. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
And we have the convener of Professionals for Change, Mr. Tunde Mark Alabi. Thank you very much for joining us. We expect a lady to join us, so we don't get accused of gender bias. We are expecting Ms. Juliet Benitier of the Institute of National Transformation to join us any moment from now. Yes, so the battle this year is obviously between two parties. We hardly hear of the other parties. And a lot of dirt has been thrown around. And people have been shouting, oh, tell us about issues. Don't talk about personalities. Tell us about issues. And we have seen a bit of violence, even though the elections haven't actually taken place. So let me start with you, Mr. Okafor. Do you believe that we can go through this unscathed?
You mean the electoral process?
Yes. Between now and April 11th and thereafter?
Well, the election, pre-election, election itself and post-election activities are issues that in the past we have seen the trend, and that trend has not changed so much. The only change I have noticed is that some of the actors are becoming more and more desperate. It's becoming more difficult for them to control themselves. The stakes are so high, and the high stakes maybe because the political space has been narrowed to two major political parties now, the PDP and APC, and they have invested so much. So everybody wants to win. And the greatest business in Nigeria today for me is politics. And if what you read in the papers is anything to go by, if somebody could claim that he gave another person 900 or 800 million naira to get tickets, just party tickets, then you can imagine. So if you have that kind of investment, you're also ready to do anything to win the election. So that is why I see kind of people gearing up. But then, for us, the civil society groups, especially my own group, the JDPC, we have seen the handwriting on the wall that if you leave the trend to continue the way it's going, there is definitely going to be trouble. So on the 31st of January, we had what we call 50-man rally sponsored by the group. We marched from Maryland to...
Only 50?
50,000.
Aha, 50,000.
Oh, 50,000, sorry.
Thank you.
50,000 man rally. Although we did not get that number, but we had quite a sizable number of people that marched from Maryland, St. Agnes to St. Leo's, Ikeja. And we were able to pass some messages along the line, and then I'm sure your people were there and so many other media houses were there to send the signal to the people that there was Nigeria, there's Nigeria, and there will still be Nigeria after the elections. And if you allow politicians to take over the political space and utilize it the way they want, then all of us will be in trouble. So it's left for us now to begin to know that you go cast your votes. Whoever wins at the end of the day is 4 years. After 4 years, another election will come, and then you can vote again. The most important thing now for us to know is that our votes will count, and then the outcome will reflect our own intentions and beliefs.
Yes.
Barrister, why, yeah, he's talked about the fact that for the politicians it's like an investment. But because when you look at the electoral violence, the occurrences themselves, it's not the politicians that are doing the fighting. It's their, in quote, followers and supporters. They are not...
They're boys.
Okay, they are boys.
As you said earlier.
What is the investment of these youth that's causing them to possibly
What do they have
put
to
themselves in
gain?
harm's way
Yes.
to see a politician come into office?
Well, I think the answer to that question is not straightforward, because for you to answer that question, you have to look at the root causes of political violence. And I think one of the causes of political violence is the level of misery in the land. A lot of persons are poor as a result of prior mismanagement of the resources of Nigeria as a nation. And you also have to look at the problem of corruption. You also have to look at the allure, the attractiveness of political office. Some time ago, a former Senate president in this country said, and I quote, that politics is an investment, and sometimes you even get to sell your house just to participate in the political process. And if you win, you have to recoup that investment. But the problem is whether you can recoup that investment without committing a crime. And it creates a whole lot of question marks on how we have been able to manage our political process, how we have been able to structure it, whether we have been able to structure it in a manner that does not incentivize violence. I do not think that the youths in isolation are the principal actors in this political violence, because these so-called youths, just like you rightly said, they have orgas. Yes, they do have orgas loosely, and sometimes what you see manifest by way of political violence is simply an instruction that have been given by their orgas. So there is somebody somewhere stoking the fire of this violence. And for me, I think the youth do not have anything at stake apart from they are merely driven by poverty, by the urge to earn a living. You understand? Because they are poor, and a lot of them are largely unemployed.
But Mr. Holu, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
What is it that a politician would say to a youth for him to put himself in harm's way, knowing fully well he just might lose his life in what he's going to embark upon?
Now, survival is a story of life. Survival is a story of life. For you as a human being, you have to eat in the morning. If you do not have food to eat, then you run the risk of losing your life as a result of hunger. Now, let me say this. So
either way,
you are saying this because you work in Channels Television, and at the end of the month you receive your salary and you cater for your family. But I can tell you that there are a lot of youths in this country that are very jobless. They are jobless, and when this opportunity comes, is it not survival? They don't even need the advice from politicians. They jump into it just to earn a living, just to eke out a living. So you have to look at it from the angle of our inability to structure a policy that will create jobs for the youth. Because insofar as they remain unemployed, you continue to see pockets of political violence everywhere.
Because you want to put food on your table, you would put yourself in a position, risk your life for a man. I'll give you an example. I was traveling to one of the airports, and I saw a young man who was in pain, as in visibly in pain, waiting for a flight because he needed to go to the hospital. And guess what? The man for whom he took that bullet for, because I had some questions, he took a bullet for a politician, was on that same flight, not with him. The man was in the business class. The young man was in economy. But he's in pain. So how would you put yourself in that kind of position? Just to feed?
Well, just like I told you, you don't look at it from the isolated angle. You won't look at it from the isolated angle of poverty, as I said. There are other causes. It could be that the man have been promised something good in the future when they win. That's one thing. Then it could also mean that the man is motivated by other considerations that we do not know about. So these are just the principal things. When you talk about the intention to escape misery, is one cardinal point that you cannot undermine.